So in my previous video, I kind of touched on my ideas about racism. And to elaborate a little bit before I go on, I just want to touch on the idea that the whole point of my last video is that I think the idea that people latch on to these ideologies, it's completely misguided. I understand culture. I understand nationalism. I think nationalism is actually a great idea. It's important. I don't know if every country in the world should be nationalist. I think there should be nationalist countries for certain races of people, like China wants to be Chinese. Japan wants to be Japanese. And I think that there are actually countries that are better served to be non-homogenous, kind of like America. And should white people have their own country? I mean, sure, why not? I don't think it's racist. I mean, even the term white nationalist, it's not something I find offensive. And yeah, I'm white, but it's just, I wouldn't find it offensive in terms of any race. So, that I think that it helps to serve people in their identity and their feeling of a sense of a home. And I think a lot of people here in America don't have that, because we don't have so much of our culture as much as we are a blending of cultures, which I think is a great thing. It's a positive. But what little culture we do have is kind of being erased. And while I get the emotional aspect of why to do this, I think that the motivation for it is misguided. I think it's important to know your history regardless of it is a good thing or a bad thing. Like the times we're going in now, 100 years from now, if things were to somehow get better, would we not talk about the time when America lost its way and there was no freedom of speech and that corporatism pretty much made the rules? I don't think that we're gonna make it that far, but I think it's a nice idea that we could hold on to the mistakes of the past and learn from them. I think that was the point to history. Those who do not understand history are doomed to repeat it. But but again, just to say, as far as racism, I think that I think in the grand scheme of things, that the idea of racial supremacy is what is leading people astray in the grand scheme of things. I think that racial supremacy it's kind of ridiculous in the sense that, every culture has its strengths. I think, like most people would know about Asian cultures, aren't known for being very creative, but they're known for being very good at engineering. And for instance, that's like saying, we create something here, they will take it and they will make it better. Because we as a people are pretty creative. And, it's just everyone has their strengths. And, there's this story I remember from way back when Nazi Germany and Japan were allies during the war, and the Nazis had created the world's smallest drill bit, and they sent it to the Japanese. They sent it to all these different countries, kind of like, oh, look at what we've done. And the Japanese sent the drill bit back with a hole drilled through it. So, it's these kind of things where when we as societies, if a country over here says, look at what we've done, and a country over here says, that's awesome, we just made it better, this just benefits everyone. And kind of moved away from that. So I guess the idea is, that whole diversity is our strength thing. I think that there's something to be said in that. At the basis of it as a term, yeah, diversity can definitely be strength. But I think when people hold on to that sense of nationalism, but they've been homogenized in one society, well, then that's when things get kind of murky. And that's the problem with America, is that everyone has come here from another country and everyone is complaining about how it is here. And it's just, listen, a guy can be, you can have a guy who's never met a black guy in his life. And you can have him meet a black guy, and this black guy could wrong him. And so he could spend the next week being racist, generalizing, oh, this one guy, all black people. And then another week goes by, and an old black woman does something nice for him. And so he internalizes this, and, he internalizes this, and all of a sudden he realizes that maybe I should be judging people on a more individualistic level. So that's, so then another week goes by and he's not racist anymore. And this is the thing, is that people need time to change, to adjust. And as a society, we can't go around saying you have to be this way, you have to be this way. People need to naturally, organically reach that conclusion, and that is what life is. And that is why there will always be racism, because people will always have this there will always be people who need to experience these things for themselves. And as sad as that might be, that is just life. And the best thing we can do is learn from the past. We can try and explain to people how we see things, and then we can let them go out into the world and come to these conclusions themselves. And it's really all just about experience. And then this leads me to religion, which is the other great divisive thing in our world. And I call it a thing because religion is a lot like nationalism, and I could get into my religion, but that would be, it depends on what day you ask me, really. I mean, what do I believe in? I don't know. I don't know if I believe in anything, but I love theology. I went to Christian school. I've read the Quran many times, and while I don't speak the naturalistic language of the Quran, I understand that there really is no understanding the Quran unless you read it in the language it was written. It's just, there's so many things lost in translation, and I think, German is the same way. There are things that we have a paragraph of explanation. I'll be back.